Origins, the map that paved the way that we know zombies today. This map is the beginning of many things. The innovation of the map, the beautiful yet terrifying setting of the trenches of the Great War, and the well-written story and Easter egg behind this map, which is only just the surface behind this spectacle. There is no map like Origins that brings in this type of scale. Origins is one of the most memorable maps, and I'm going to be talking about this masterpiece. When you first start off the map, you get to watch one of the greatest intro cutscenes that we have ever seen in zombies, where it gets you hooked immediately with the great music and fast-paced action. You are introduced with some new but familiar characters, the Premise crew, where you see Tank Dempsey, Nikolai, Takio, and lastly Edward Richtofen. These are obviously the same characters from the Ultimates crew, but younger. The Premise crew brings in a much more serious tone than what you would see or hear from the Ultimates crew, and I really enjoyed these characters more as it makes the story, in my opinion, more engaging. Now the story behind this map in short is the discovery of Agartha and 115, and the Premise crew needs to save Samantha Maxis. Now let's talk about the map itself, and let's start off with the environment of the map. Origins is set during World War I in France at an excavation site. You fight zombies in many different and unique locations, like in the muddy trenches, no man's land, or in the dark secret chambers. This map style and tone is so unique compared to the rest of the maps we are used to getting, and Treyarch nailed the aesthetic of the Great War. You can feel the terror and brutal dogfight going into the sky, and the bombs landing, and the giant robots. Yes, this map has giant robots that march across the map. You actually first see that robot right when you start the game, and these robots have a pretty big impact on the map as well. As you explore around the map in certain areas, that robot will stomp in that area when walking across, so you need to be careful or you will get crushed. Now on the same topic of the aesthetic, we are introduced to some new and returning weapons that fit the theme. We are introduced to a brand new starting pistol for the first time ever, that being the Mauser. We also got the return of the MP40 and the STG, and also introduced to a new machine gun called the MG08. Overall, each gun is actually really good. My favorite would 100% be the Mauser, as when you upgrade it, it turns into the Boom Hilda, and it is one of the best guns to go for on Origins. I even made a video about this gun in particular. The video will be link in the description. Now the MP40 would probably be my second favorite, as it is really good for the early rounds and is good for racking up points, and at the same time isn't all that bad for damage. And another thing, I don't know if this is just me, but this gun feels super satisfying to use. Now the MG08 is also pretty good, but in my opinion I would definitely think there are better weapons to go for, but there is a way to get a free pack-a-punch version of this gun. And the STG is also pretty good for a wall gun and can be helpful for certain situations. Now there are also some new weapons added to the mystery box as well. The three new weapons are the Scorpion Evo, the KSG shotgun, and my favorite, the Scar. Overall, the weapons on this map are very solid all around. Now let's talk about the setup of the map, as this map has a ton of things to do and is one of the most expansive maps that we have ever seen. And any new player will 100% struggle without a guide. Now in the starting room, you will notice a generator. You'll need to turn on these generators and perform this control the zone type scenario, where these unique zombies will spawn and you'll need, in this case, capture the generator. Once you do that, you get the power in that certain area turning on generator 1, which in that case would be quick revive. This is how you get the power on in each area, as there are a total of 6 generators to turn on, and when you get all 6 you will unlock Pack-a-Punch. Getting Pack-a-Punch can be pretty difficult compared to the past zombie maps that we have gotten, and can feel very punishing against you in the early rounds. Now in Origins, we are introduced to 4 new wonder weapons. This is the first time ever where everyone can have their own unique wonder weapon, and each wonder weapon has its own unique quests to build it and upgrade it, that being the Elemental Staves. There are 4 elemental staffs to go for. The Ice Staff, where you can freeze zombies, the Wind Staff, where you basically make them go flying, which is pretty similar to the Thunder Gun. Then you got the Lightning Staff, where you burst zombies with electricity, and lastly is the Fire Staff, which shoots out 3 firing bombs. Now let's talk about how you build them and upgrade these staffs and their utility, as these staffs are very good and can be very complicated to upgrade for some players. And before you can even get these staffs, you'll need to find the white disc and the gramophone, which can be found at the excavation site, which is basically the middle of the map. You need to place it downstairs, which will open up the downstairs part, which is where you'll build the base version of these staffs. Now let's start off with the ice staff. Now to get the base version is pretty simple to do. Now in Origins there is a weather system, as the weather rotates from clear skies to rain and then snow. First you need to grab a shovel and look for dig sites around the map while it is snowing. When it is snowing, you need to get 3 parts from the dig site. Each part will be on its own side, so the right side, middle side, and the left side. Once you get all 3, you need to go all the way over to Generator 6 tunnel and go inside Agartha. Once you are in, you need to go up to the podium and grab the ice crystal. Then take it all the way back to the excavation site and build it downstairs, and you got yourself the base version of the ice staff. Now let's upgrade it. Now with every staff upgrade, there is a puzzle that you'll have to solve in Agartha. Once you solve the puzzle for the ice staff, you need to go outside over to Generator 4, where you'll find some tombstones. There is one at Generator 4, over by the excavation site, and outside of Generator 2. Once you see it, you gotta shoot it with your ice staff and then pull out a regular weapon and break the tombstone. Once you've done that, you need to go all the way to the excavation site and go downstairs. At the bottom there are 4 rings with a color on the side. You want to match up all the 4 rings to the same color of your staff, which would be blue for the ice staff. There are 4 levers around where you can switch it up. Once you got it all matched, go down and shoot the glowing ore above you, and it will fly off, indicating that you did it correctly. After that, go to Agartha, place the staff in the podium, and then fill up souls. Once you got enough souls, you have upgraded the ice staff. Now this staff is very good, as it is basically the main weapon to go for if you are going for higher rounds. This staff has good ammo and is really efficient for when camping and hoarding. I would say a lot of people have this as their favorite staff of the 4, and I do not blame them. This staff is honestly too good and is probably the best weapon in Origins. Now let's talk about the wind staff and how to get it. First you need to get the yellow disc, which can be found over at Generator 5. Once you do that, you need to go inside one of the giant robots. Inside the robot, you'll find each part in each robot, as there are a total of 3 robots on the map. Once you do that, go to Agartha and grab the crystal and go back to the bottom, and you got yourself the wind staff. Now let's talk about how you upgrade it. Just like the ice staff, you need to go to Agartha and solve the puzzle. Once you have done that, you need to go outside and basically find these smoky pillars. Basically, you need to make the smoke face towards the center of the map. There are a total of 3 around the map, first being right next to Generator 4, the next being outside of Generator 6, and the last is at Generator 5. Once you've done all 3, you gotta go do the ring step. Once you've matched all the rings, shoot the bottom one, and then go all the way back to Agartha and fill up the staff's souls. Once you got enough souls, you got yourself the upgraded wind staff. Now in my opinion, I feel this is probably one of the worst staffs of the 4. It feels like a worse version of the ice staff, as it has way less ammo, and I'm pretty sure this staff has the least amount of ammo of the 4, and honestly it just doesn't really feel that great to use. And I also feel that there are also way better options than the wind staff. But I will say this staff is definitely my favorite looking staff of the 4, but overall isn't really all that great. Now let's talk about the fire staff. First you need to find the red disc, which is over at Generator 6 or in the church. Once you do that, all the parts are not hard to find. First part you'll get when completing all generators, getting pack punch, which will come out of a chest. Then you'll need to kill a panzer, as it will drop another part. And then lastly, you'll need to look up in the sky and you'll see a glowing red plane flying. You'll need to shoot the plane down and it will explode, and it will drop down the part for you to pick up. Then after that, go to Agartha, grab the fire crystal, and go back down, and you got yourself the base version of the fire staff. Now let's upgrade it. Now the puzzle for this staff is really easy, as all you have to do is get zombie kills in a certain area. Now this next step can be pretty difficult. You need to head over to the top of the church, and on the wall you'll notice some symbols to light up. According to the certain symbol is the number you have to shoot in that order downstairs of the church. Downstairs are a bunch of torches, each have a number on them. Based on the symbol is the number that you need to shoot in that order. Once you've gotten the right ones lit up, you have completed that step correctly. Then go downstairs and do the ring step. After that, go to Agartha and fill up zombie souls for the staff, and you got yourself the upgraded fire staff. This staff is pretty good when it comes to just surviving and roaming around the map, and it's probably the best staff to use against the panzers. And overall, this staff is definitely up there as one of my favorites, and I would say it's pretty easy to get compared to the other staffs. Overall, this staff is a pretty solid one. Now lastly is the lightning staff. This one I would say is the hardest to go for in my opinion, as some of the steps can be pretty annoying. First you need to find the purple disc, which can be found over at generator 4, and then to get the actual lightning staff parts you need to go over and ride the tank. While you are riding, you need to jump on that ledge and go and grab the part. There are 3 locations, one being outside of the spawn, the other being towards the center of the excavation site, and the last one being at the church. Once you've gotten all 3, go down to Agartha and grab the lightning crystal and go downstairs and build yourself the lightning staff. Now let's upgrade it. First you need to do the puzzle for the lightning staff, and then after that you need to go around the map and find switches on these boxes and switch them in the right direction. After you've done all the boxes, you need to go downstairs and do the rings. Then go fill up souls in Agartha and you got yourself the upgraded lightning staff. Now this staff is pretty good, as I kind of find it similar to the fire staff but a little bit different. I think the fire staff is a little bit better than the lightning staff, but I think this one is still fun and it has a ton of ammo, but it's definitely not the best one overall, but it's still pretty solid in my opinion. Now overall there isn't really a bad staff to use, and honestly all of them are very good for this map. Obviously if I had to rank them, I would rank ice staff as the best, then fire staff, then lightning, and then wind. These staffs are just so much fun to use and honestly look so cool, and getting all the parts and upgrading them is so much fun to do, and is something that we have never seen in zombies and I wish we kind of saw more of. But overall these staffs are some of the best wonder weapons in zombies. Now after you've gotten all the staff, there's still more to do on this map. First is the Maxis drone. To get the Maxis drone, you need to find 3 parts around the map. First being right in front of you when you spawn in. The next part you can find over at the excavation site where you get Pack-a-Punch. And the last part you can find over near the church. Now what it does is basically send out this drone that roams around the map and protects you by shooting zombies. To be honest, I hardly ever find myself using the Maxis drone, and I don't really find it useful as you have the overpowered, staffs. The only real use behind this is for the Easter egg. Now another thing to go for is the G strike. To get the G strike you need to grab this rune at the table over by generator 2. You then need to take it all the way over to the church and put it in the water. After that you need to get melee kills. There is a glitch by the way where you can shoot your staff and quickly take out your shield and it will count towards the soul box, which is the easiest way of doing it. After it is done, you need to grab the rune and take it all the way back to where you first got it over at generator 2. But there is a twist. You need to go all the way over there without touching the mud. If you do, you're going to have to go all the way back and put it in the water to clean it. But don't worry, you don't have to get melee kills again. Once you take it all the way back, you need to repeat the step of getting melee kills and you got yourself the G strike. This lethal is very similar to the monkey bomb, but instead the giant robots will send these missiles to wherever you throw it, and it will drop huge explosions. In short, this is basically an upgraded monkey bomb and is very important to get for the long run. Now the next thing to go for is the Iron Fist. To get the Iron Fist is pretty easy, as all you have to do is fill up these 4 soul boxes around the map. Each box you can find in the footprint of where the giant robots stomp. First one is outside of the excavation site. Next one you can find over at generator 4, the other being at generator 5, and the last one being outside of the church to the right. These boxes take a lot of souls, and another thing to look out for are the giant robots. Not only will they squish you, but when you're filling up the box, it will reset the entire soul box when they stomp on that location. So you really need to time up when you're going to start filling up the souls. In the late rounds, it's pretty easy to fill up as there are a lot more zombies, but can be a bit tedious in the early rounds. But once you fill up all the boxes, you can go over to the challenge podium and grab the Iron Fist, which is a melee that launches the zombies. This melee is pretty fun to use, but I don't ever use it as I feel it doesn't really do all that much damage in the late rounds, and honestly you'll just be better off using your staff. And really I only find myself going for the fist as if I'm doing the Easter egg, as you have to get it. Overall it's fun to use, but I don't find it all that great. Now let's talk about the Easter egg. This Easter egg is one of the biggest eggs we have ever seen, and honestly is still today the biggest one yet. First step of the Easter egg is upgrading all the staffs, which is honestly a big portion of this Easter egg. Now after that you need to place certain staffs in the corresponding robot, but there is a skip for this. If you grab the fire staff and place it at the bottom and pick it up and place it again and keep on repeating it, it will complete this step. This is only possible on the BO2 version and is what a lot of people do instead of waiting for the robot. And after that is probably one of the hardest steps in the game, especially if you're solo. You need to wait for the robot to come by and go inside it. You'll notice that there is a red button there. You basically need to time the button perfectly and also throw the G strike at this spot. You'll know you did it after the explosion if there's a giant hole in the ground. After that, take out your Maxis drone and it will go down. A ton of panzers will spawn in and attack you. This step is my favorite and least favorite at the same time, as trying to do this solo is an absolute nightmare, as you need to get the middle robot to open up and hit the button at the right time and throw the G strike in the spot correctly, all within a short amount of time. This part right here is make or break for most speedrunners, and I would say this step is very hard for solo players. After that, you need to get a zombie blood, which is a new power up where zombies cannot see you. You'll need to find a red flying plane similar to the one during the fire staff part. Once you shoot it down, you'll need to find an invisible zombie and zombie blood. Kill the zombie and pick up the Maxis drone. After that, go downstairs where you first built the staves, and zombies with glowing white hands will come down. You're gonna have to melee them with your iron fist. Once you've gotten enough, you'll have an upgraded iron fist, which is the element according to your staff. After that, bring all the staffs to Agartha and get a bunch of souls. And once you've gotten enough souls, a giant beam will come down in the middle and you'll have to take out your Maxistro and make it fly up. Once you do that, you have completed the entire Easter egg, and you'll get to experience the first ever Easter egg cutscene for a zombies map. This is the first time we have ever seen this, and it brings in a lot of nostalgia, as there is a ton of hidden Easter eggs within this cutscene. As you see Samantha and Eddie in the house, it shows them playing with toys and Maxis calls them down. This is a pretty good tease of what is to come to the future and is a pretty good lead up for the next game. Now overall, this Easter egg is one of my favorite Easter eggs of all time, and I believe this is one of the best Easter eggs that Treyarch has ever created, and it didn't even have a boss fight. Imagine if it did. It feels so satisfying after completing it, and all of the steps are pretty fun to do in my opinion. Now, is it perfect? No. I do find the G-Strike step quite annoying, as it almost feels impossible to do solo unless you get really lucky. But if you're not, then you might be on this step for quite a while. But overall, this Easter egg is one of the best. Now let's talk about the difficulty of the map. I would say Origins is one big love letter to OG and hardcore fans. This is without a doubt the most hardcore map, as I still find myself needing to use a tutorial for some of the staff steps. Which doesn't necessarily mean it's hard, but can be hard for someone that isn't using one. And I absolutely love that. There is so much to learn from this map, as there are a ton of things to do, making it one of the hardest maps to set up. Now let's talk about the boss zombies. One of the most iconic boss zombies, the Panzer Soldat, is probably one of the scariest bosses we have ever seen in zombies, as when he comes in the early rounds, you better get ready, because he is about to rock your shit. A giant zombie in a mech suit comes down from the sky and will chase you down. He is attached with a flamethrower and a claw that can grab you, and getting caught by the claw is gotta be one of the top 5 scariest things to happen in zombies. This boss zombie is also so much scarier in the early rounds when you're setting up. The round he comes in is quite literally make or break for the rest of your game, making him one of my favorite boss zombies, where he truly feels like one. Now up next are the Templar zombies, and these mini boss zombies are like the dog rounds for this map. At random rounds, they will spawn in and try to attack the generators. If they succeed, you will have to do that generator again, and they can do every single one if you're that bad. If you kill them all before getting a generator, you are rewarded with a free max ammo, which is nice. They also won't attack you, but I will say these zombies are really annoying in my opinion. I'm honestly glad that there is a max ammo around, but this one just kind of ruins the flow for me, especially when you're trying to set up or do the Easter egg. I understand why they added this, but sometimes it just feels really annoying and I don't like that. Now overall, this map is definitely one of the harder maps, as the boss zombies are hard, the mud can be challenging in certain situations, but if you get everything all set up, this map can be pretty easy. The setup should be hard to do and the rewards should be well worth it, and I think Origins does that perfectly. Now I want to briefly talk about some of my complaints about this map. I think my biggest complaint for this map is the layout and the lack of traversals. This map has quite literally one of the worst traversals, that being the tank. There's honestly no point to use this to go from point A to point B. I really wish there was some teleporters with the generators. For example, generator 1 could have a teleporter go from 1 to maybe like 4 or something. I think this would have been perfect and would make the flow much better, as the only real way to traverse around the map is with the Boom Hilda. Another complaint isn't the map itself, but the remaster on BO3. I want to quickly talk about the BO3 version, as I feel this version is much worse than the one on BO2. I feel the flow on this one is even worse, as they took out the Boom Hilda trick, the mud feels much slower, and overall the map is kinda easier. The map looks great, but I feel the BO2 version is just much better. Honestly, these are really only my complaints and aren't really the biggest complaints ever. Now, in conclusion, this map would be the true origins of a golden age of Call of Duty Zombies. This map is one big triumph, as there is so much to do and discover on this map, bringing in many reasons to come back and play. I highly suggest anyone to come back and try this map. 11 years later is still one of the most impressive maps Treyarch has ever made. There is no map like Origins.